Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES horizon, staring out at the endless stars. The ship had been traveling through deep space for 6 months now, searching for any sign of life beyond Earth. Jake was 42 years old, with gray hair starting to show at his temples. He had spent most of his life in space, but this mission was different. This time, they were not just exploring. They were hoping to find friends. "Captain, I'm getting something strange on the sensors," said Dr. Alex Turner from his station. Alex was the ship's science officer, a thin man with thick glasses, who got excited about everything they discovered. "These energy readings don't match anything natural." Jake walked over to Alex's station. The screen showed waves of energy coming from a star system about 12 light-years away. The patterns were too organized, too perfect to be from nature. "Aren't you thinking what I'm thinking?" Jake asked. "If you're thinking intelligent life, then yes," Alex said, his voice shaking with excitement. "Captain, this could be it. This could be first contact." Lisa Park looked up from her communications station. She was 28, with short black hair and quick fingers that never stopped moving across her controls. "Should I try to send a signal?" Jake thought for a moment. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. The moment they would learn they were not alone in the universe. "Do it," he said. Lisa began sending out a simple mathematical sequence, then music, then pictures showing Earth and humans. They waited. Hours passed, then days. Jake was starting to think they had made a mistake when Lisa suddenly jumped up from her chair. "Captain, I'm getting a response." The bridge went silent. Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked at Lisa's station. Even Maya Rodriguez, the ship's engineer, came up from the engine room to listen. "What are they saying?" Jake asked. Lisa's hands moved quickly over her controls. "It's big. It's incredible. They're sending back our own mathematical sequence, but they've made it more complex. And Captain, they're learning our language. Fast." Over the next few hours, the messages became clearer. The beings called themselves Zephyrians, and they seemed just as excited as the humans to make contact. They said they had been alone for so long, searching the galaxy for other intelligent life. "We welcome you, humans of Earth," came the translated message. "We are the Zephyrians of the world, Zephyr Prime. We have waited so long to find friends among the stars." Jake felt tears in his eyes. After all these years of wondering, they had found peaceful neighbors. "Tell them we come in friendship," Jake said to Lisa. "Tell them we want to learn about them and share what we know." The Zephyrians responded quickly. They wanted to meet face to face. They invited the humans to come to their world for a grand ceremony of first contact. They said it would be the greatest day in both their histories. Captain Alex said, looking at the data they were receiving. "Look at this technology they're sharing. Their ships can travel faster than anything we have. Their medicine could cure diseases we've never been able to treat. They're offering to teach us everything." Jake could hardly believe it. Not only had they found aliens, but friendly ones who wanted to help humanity grow and learn. "We need to contact Earth immediately," Jake said. "This is too big for just our ship to handle." Lisa sent a priority message back to Earth, explaining everything they had discovered. The response came back within hours. Earth was sending its largest diplomatic mission ever. Ambassador Helen Cross would lead 7 ships carrying Earth's best diplomats, scientists, and artists. Jake had met Helen Cross once before. She was a strong woman in her 50s, who had spent her life bringing different groups of people together. If anyone could make first contact work, it was her. While they waited for the diplomatic fleet to arrive, the Horizon continued talking with the Zephyrians. Every conversation made them seem more wonderful. They spoke about peace, about learning, about building a better galaxy together. They shared stories of their art and culture. They even sent recordings of their music, which sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Their incredible, Alex said one evening as he studied their science data. They've solved problems that we're still working on. Energy production, space travel, even how to keep peace between different groups of people. Maya nodded from her engineering station. Their ships run on something they call harmony drives. Clean energy that doesn't hurt anything. We could power Earth for 1,000 years with one of their engines. When the Earth diplomatic fleet finally arrived, Jake felt proud to be human. The 7 ships were beautiful, representing the best of what humanity could build. Ambassador Cross came aboard the Horizon to meet with Jake and his crew. "Captain Morrison," she said, shaking Jake's hand firmly. "You and your crew have made history today. First contact with an alien species, and peaceful ones at that. Earth is proud of you." Helen Cross was exactly as Jake remembered her. Confident, smart, and determined to make things work. She listened carefully as Jake's crew explained everything they had learned about the Zephyrians. "They want us to come to their homeworld for a ceremony," Jake explained. "They say it's their tradition when they meet new friends. A celebration of peace and friendship." Helen smiled. "Then that's exactly what we'll do." "How long until we reach their system?" 3 days at our current speed," Maya answered. "But the Zephyrians offered to send some of their ships to guide us. They said they want to make sure we arrive safely." "Accept their offer," Helen said. "It's important to show trust in first contact situations." As the combined human fleet traveled toward Zephyr Prime, Jake felt happier than he had in years. Humanity was no longer alone. They had found friends among the stars, beings who wanted to help them grow and learn. The future seemed brighter than ever. Alex spent his time studying the Zephyrian science data, constantly amazed by their discoveries. Lisa worked on improving communications between the species. Maya learned about their ship designs. Everyone was excited about what they might learn. "Captain," Lisa said on their final day of travel, "the Zephyrians are sending more messages. They say thousands of their people are gathering for the ceremony. They're calling it the greatest day in their history." Jake smiled as he looked out at the stars ahead. In just a few hours, they would reach Zephyr Prime. They would meet their new friends face to face. They would begin a new chapter in human history, one filled with peace, friendship, and unlimited possibilities. He had no idea that he was flying straight into a trap. The Zephyr system was beautiful. 3 planets orbited a bright yellow star, and the middle planet glowed with blue oceans and green land. Thousands of Zephyrian ships filled the space around their homeworld, all decorated with colorful lights. For the ceremony. "It's amazing," Alex said, watching the sensor readings. "Their cities cover entire continents, but they haven't damaged their environment at all. They really have learned how to live in harmony." Jake stood on the bridge of the Horizon, watching the diplomatic fleet move toward the planet. Ambassador Cross was aboard the lead ship, the UES Unity, preparing for the most important meeting in human history. "Captain Morrison," came Helen's voice over the radio. "Are you seeing this? There must be 10,000 Zephyrian ships here for the ceremony. They really want to celebrate our friendship." Jake smiled. "It's incredible, Ambassador," Alex says. "Their planet is perfectly balanced. No pollution, no environmental damage. We could learn so much from them." The Zephyrian ships guided the human fleet to a position above their capital city. Jake could see the massive structures below. Towers that reached toward the sky but somehow looked natural, like they had grown from the ground instead of being built. "All human ships, please prepare for the ceremony," came the translated voice of High Coordinator Veltar, the Zephyrian leader. "We are so honored to welcome our new friends to our home." Jake ordered the Horizon to stay back with the other escort ships, while the diplomatic vessels moved closer to the planet. It was standard procedure to keep some ships at a distance during first contact, just in case something went wrong. Jake had never imagined how important that decision would be. The ceremony began beautifully. Ambassador Cross and her team transported down to the planet's surface, where thousands of Zephyrians waited in a massive stadium. The aliens looked elegant, tall and thin, with skin that seemed to shimmer in their sun's light. Jake watched through the live video feed as Helen stepped forward to address the crowd. She wore Earth's finest diplomatic dress and carried a case filled with gifts from humanity, art, music, books, and samples of Earth's culture. "People of Zephyr Prime," Helen began, her voice being translated instantly into their language. "We come from the world called Earth, bringing greetings from all humanity. We come in peace, seeking friendship and understanding between our peoples." The Zephyrian crowd seemed excited, making sounds that their translators said were cheers of joy. Children from both species came forward to exchange gifts. Human children gave small earth flowers, while Zephyrian young ones offered crystals that sang when touched. "This is perfect," Lisa said, tears in her eyes as she watched the ceremony. "Look how happy everyone is. This is how first contact should be." High Coordinator Veltar stepped forward to respond to Helen's speech. He was tall, even for a Zephyrian, with intricate markings on his skin that seemed to glow softly. "Humans of Earth," Veltar said, his voice carrying across the stadium, "we welcome you to our world. We have waited so long to find others who seek peace among the stars. Today begins a new age of friendship between our peoples." The crowd cheered again. Human and Zephyrian diplomats began talking, sharing information about their worlds and cultures. Everything seemed perfect. Then Jake noticed something wrong on his sensors. "Maya, are you seeing this?" he asked his engineer. "There are ships moving behind that moon." Maya checked her instruments and frowned. "That's strange. The Zephyrians said all their ships were here for the ceremony. But I'm reading massive energy signatures behind the fourth moon." "Alex, can you get a better look?" Jake asked. Alex adjusted. The sensors in his face went pale. "Captain, those aren't civilian ships. They're warships. Hundreds of them." Jake felt ice in his stomach. "Get me Ambassador Cross immediately." But before Lisa could open communications, the trap sprang. Ships appeared everywhere around the human fleet. They had been hiding, using some kind of technology that made them invisible to human sensors. Hundreds of massive Zephyrian warships surrounded the 7 Earth diplomatic vessels. "What's happening?" came Helen's confused voice from the planet's surface. High Coordinator Veltar's voice changed completely. The friendly tone was gone, replaced by something cold and cruel. "Foolish humans," Veltar announced, his words now reaching both the planet and the ships above. "Did you really think we wanted friendship? Did you believe we saw you as equals?" On the planet's surface, Jake could see through the video feed that armed Zephyrians were surrounding the human diplomats. Helen and her team were trapped. "This is how we always handle new species," Veltar continued. "We invite them to celebrate, we learn about their worlds and their defenses, and then we take everything they have. Your planet Earth will make an excellent addition to our empire." The Zephyrian warships opened fire. Jake watched in horror as the UES Unity, carrying Ambassador Cross and Earth's finest diplomats, exploded in a ball of fire. The other ships tried to run, but they were surrounded. One by one, they were destroyed. "All human ships, retreat immediately," Jake shouted into his communicator, but it was too late for most of them. The UES Discovery tried to fight back, firing its small defensive weapons at the massive Zephyrian ships. It was like throwing rocks at a mountain. The alien warships tore it apart in seconds. "Captain, we have to run," Maya shouted. "There are too many of them." Jake could see the last diplomatic ship, the US Hope, trying desperately to escape, but 3 Zephyrian warships surrounded it and fired together. The Hope disappeared in a bright flash. "Lisa, send a message to Earth immediately," Jake ordered. "Tell them what happened here. Tell them the Zephyrians are coming." Lisa's fingers flew over her controls as she sent the urgent warning back to Earth. At the same time, Maya pushed their engines to maximum power, trying to get the Horizon away from the battle. "Captain," Alex said, his voice shaking, "I'm reading their fleet strength. Over 10,000 warships, and they're all heading toward Earth." Jake felt sick. Earth's entire space fleet had maybe 300 ships, most of them old patrol vessels. They couldn't fight 10,000 advanced warships. On his screen, he could see the planet's surface, where the ceremony had been taking place. The Zephyrians had killed all the human diplomats. Ambassador Kraus, who had worked her entire life for peace, was dead. The artists, scientists, and diplomats who had come to build bridges between species were all gone. They planned this from the beginning, Jake realized. Every question they asked about Earth, every piece of information we shared, they were studying us, learning our weaknesses. "Captain, incoming message from the Zephyrian fleet," Lisa reported. "Put it through," Jake said. "Hi, Coordinator." Veltar's face appeared on the screen, no longer friendly, but filled with cruel satisfaction. "Captain Morrison of the ship Horizon," Veltar said. "Yes, we know who you are. We know about your little ship, hiding in our system. You may run back to your primitive world if you wish. Tell your people what happened here. Tell them that in 30 Earth days, our fleet will arrive to claim your planet. Your species will serve us, or it will die." The transmission ended. Jake stared at the empty screen, his hands shaking with rage and grief. Everything they had hoped for was gone. The peaceful future they had imagined was destroyed. Instead of friends among the stars, they had found enemies who saw humans as nothing more than slaves to be conquered. "Get us out of here," he told Maya, quietly, as the Horizon fled the Zephyr system. Jake took one last look at the alien homeworld. It still looked beautiful and peaceful from a distance. But now he knew the truth. It was the home of monsters who used friendship as a weapon. "Captain," Lisa said softly, "how long until they reach Earth?" Jake did the math in his head. With their advanced ships, the Zephyrians could travel much faster than humans. 28 days, he said. Earth has 28 days to prepare for war. Behind them, the Zephyrian fleet was already moving. 10,000 warships heading toward humanity's homeworld. Jake knew that Earth's small defense fleet couldn't stop them. The planet that had given birth to the human race was going to die, and there was nothing he could do to save it. All because they had believed in peace. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the war room deep beneath Earth's surface, staring at the holographic display that showed their pathetic defenses. The warning from Captain Morrison had arrived 3 days ago, and Earth had been preparing for war ever since. "How many ships do we have?" Kate asked General Ryan Foster, the head of Earth's military forces. Ryan looked tired. He was 55 years old and had spent his entire career preparing for wars that never came. Now he faced a war he couldn't win. 247 ships total, Ryan said. Most of them are patrol vessels and cargo haulers with basic weapons. We have maybe 30 real warships, and they're all at least 20 years old. Kate nodded grimly. She had expected the numbers to be bad, but hearing them out loud made it worse. 200 ships against 10,000 advanced alien warships. It wasn't a war, it was suicide. "What about the orbital defense platforms?" she asked. 18 platforms around Earth, 12 around Mars, 6 around Luna Base, Ryan reported. They were built to stop asteroids and small raiders, not a full invasion fleet. Dr. Emma Blake looked up from her computer terminal. She was Earth's top scientist, now that all the best minds had died at Zephyr Prime. Emma was young, only 32, but she was brilliant and worked faster than anyone Kate had ever seen. "Admiral, I've been studying the data Captain Morrison sent us about Zephyrian technology," Emma said. "Their ships are more advanced than ours in every way. Faster, stronger weapons, better shields, but there might be a way to hurt them." Kate felt a tiny spark of hope. What do you have in mind? They use something called harmony drives for power, Emma explained. From the sensor data, it looks like they're incredibly efficient, but also very complex. If we could find a way to disrupt the harmonic frequencies. You're talking about a weapon that doesn't exist, Ryan interrupted. We have 25 days left. We can't invent miracle weapons in 25 days. Emma's jaw tightened. Then what do you suggest, General? That we just give up? I'm suggesting we be realistic, Ryan shot back. We can't win this war. Maybe we should try to negotiate. Kate slammed her hand on the table. Negotiate. They murdered our diplomats. They killed Ambassador Cross while she was trying to make peace. What makes you think they'll listen to anything we have to say? The room fell silent. Everyone knew Kate was right. The Zephyrians had shown their true nature at Zephyr Prime. They didn't want to talk. They wanted to conquer. We fight, Kate said firmly. Even if we can't win, we fight. We make them pay for every inch of our space. We show them that humans don't go quietly into the dark. Over the next weeks, Earth became a world at war. Every factory was converted to making weapons and ammunition. Civilian ships were armed with whatever weapons could be found. Children and elderly were moved to underground shelters. Everyone else prepared to fight. Captain Morrison and the crew of the Horizon returned to Earth 5 days before the Zephyr fleet was due to arrive. Jake looked like he had aged 10 years in the past month. The guilt of being the only survivors from first contact was eating him alive. Captain Morrison, Kate said when she met with him, I need you to take the Horizon. Back out there, when the battle starts, I want you to run. Take whatever data you can gather about their tactics, and find somewhere to hide. Jake shook his head. Admiral, my place is here fighting with the fleet. No, Kate said firmly. Your place is making sure someone survives to tell the story of what happened here. The galaxy needs to know the truth about the Zephyr. Dr. Alex Turner had been working with Emma Blake, trying to find any weakness in Zephyrian technology. They had discovered something interesting about the alien ships, but it wouldn't help in the coming battle. Their ships are designed for fighting primitive enemies, Alex explained to the War Council. They have massive weapons, but relatively light armor. They're not expecting serious resistance. That might help us hurt a few of them, Ryan said. But it won't change the outcome. The Zephyrian fleet arrived exactly when predicted. Long-range sensors detected them at the edge of the solar system, a massive wall of ships that stretched across space like a steel cloud. 10,237 vessels, reported Lieutenant Ben Carter from the sensor station, all of them bigger than our largest warship. Kate stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, Earth's flagship. Around her, the pathetic remnants of humanity's space fleet waited for orders. She opened a channel to all ships. People of Earth, she began. Today, we face an enemy that thinks we are weak. They think we will surrender without a fight. They think we will beg for mercy. They're wrong. On every ship, in every bunker, on every orbital platform, humans listened to their admiral's final speech. They came to our worlds as friends and revealed themselves as murderers. They killed our diplomats while they offered gifts of peace. They planned to enslave our children and destroy our civilization, but they made one mistake. They left some of us alive. The Zephyrian fleet was moving through the outer planets now, brushing aside the few defense satellites like they were toys. We cannot win this battle, Kate continued. But we can show them what humans are made of. We can make them remember this day. When they tell stories of the worlds they conquered, they will speak of Earth as the place that fought back. The alien fleet reached Mars in less than an hour. The defense platforms there managed to destroy exactly 3 Zephyrian ships before being wiped out. It was barely a pinprick against their massive force, but it was something. All ships, attack formation, Kate ordered. Take as many of them with us as you can. The Battle of Earth lasted 6 hours. The human fleet fought with desperate courage, ramming alien ships when their weapons ran out, using their knowledge of the solar system to set traps in asteroid fields and behind planets. But courage wasn't enough. Against overwhelming odds, Kate watched ship after ship disappear from her tactical display. The UES Courage rammed a Zephyrian heavy cruiser and took it down, but was destroyed in the explosion. The UES Hope managed to cripple 2 alien ships before being cut apart by laser fire. Admiral, they're targeting the orbital cities, reported Carter. Kate could see it happening on her screens. The beautiful space stations that orbited Earth, home to millions of people, were burning. New Geneva Station, built to house Earth's finest artists and musicians, exploded in a ball of fire. Armstrong City on Luna was next, its protective dome cracking and spilling air and people into space. "Those aren't military targets," someone whispered, but Kate understood. The Zephyrians weren't just trying to win a war. They were sending a message. They were showing the galaxy what happened to species that dared to resist them. The Earth defense platforms lasted another 2 hours. Platform 7 managed to take down a Zephyrian command ship before being destroyed. Platform 12 held out until the very end, its crew firing their last missile as the station broke apart around them. Finally, only the Defiance remained, surrounded by hundreds of alien ships. "Admiral," came a transmission from High Coordinator Veltar. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your defenses are gone. Surrender now, and your death will be quick." Kate looked around her bridge. Her crew was battered and bloodied, but still at their stations. They had lost everything, but they hadn't given up. "Go to hell," she told the alien commander. The Defiance died fighting, its weapons firing until the very last second. From his hiding place behind Europa, Captain Morrison watched Earth's final moments. The Zephyrian fleet surrounded the blue planet and began their final attack. Cities burned, oceans boiled. The world that had given birth to humanity was dying. Captain Lisa said, tears streaming down her face. "They're broadcasting it. They're showing the galaxy what they're doing to us." Morrison clenched his fists. The Zephyrians were using Earth's destruction as entertainment, showing other species what happened to those who dared to resist their empire. But in the deepest bunkers beneath the Rocky Mountains, a few hundred humans were still alive, and they had one last transmission to send. Dr. Sam Collins, the last surviving member of Earth's government, activated the planet-wide communication array. As his world burned above him, he prepared to send humanity's final message to the stars. "This is Earth," Sam began, his voice carried by every remaining transmitter on the planet. "To the Zephyrian Empire, and anyone listening, you wanted to show the galaxy what happens to those who resist you. You wanted to make an example of us." The transmission reached across space, picked up by relay stations and broadcast networks throughout the galaxy. "But you made a mistake," Sam continued. "You didn't kill all of us, and you showed us what you really are. The galaxy thinks you are peaceful explorers. Now they will learn the truth." Above ground, the Zephyrian bombardment intensified, but Sam kept talking. "You have shown us what the universe really is. A place where peace is weakness, and friendship is a lie. We came to you with open hands, and you cut them off. We offered you our hearts, and you ripped them out." The bunker shook as massive explosions rocked the surface. "But you failed to kill 847 of us," Sam said. "We are scattered across space in research stations, and mining colonies, and exploration ships. And we have learned what we need to be." The transmission was being recorded by civilizations across the galaxy. The Zephyrians tried to jam it, but it was too late. The message was already spreading. "You wanted to see what humans become when peace fails," Sam concluded as the ceiling began to crack above him. "You are about to find out. This is not a threat. This is a promise. We are coming." The transmission ended as the bunker collapsed. "Captain." Morrison stared at his screen as Earth died. The blue world was now brown and gray, its atmosphere poisoned, its cities gone. But somewhere in space, 847 humans were still alive, and they had just declared war on the galaxy. 1 year after Earth died, Captain Jake Morrison floated in the silent corridors of Research Station Omega, hidden in the darkness between stars. The station had been built to study deep space phenomena, far from any planet or shipping lane. Now it served as a secret meeting place for the scattered survivors of humanity. Jake looked older than his years. The weight of being one of the last humans alive had carved deep lines in his face. His hair was completely gray now, and his eyes held a hardness that hadn't been there before the betrayal at Zephyr Prime. "How many have we found?" he asked Lisa Park, who was working at a communications terminal she had built from salvaged parts. 312 confirmed survivors, Lisa reported. Mining crews from the asteroid belt, researchers from the Outer Rim stations, exploration teams that were too far from Earth to return before the attack. Jake nodded grimly. 312 humans left in a galaxy of billions of aliens. They were scattered across dozens of small outposts and ships, hiding from Zephyrian patrols and trying to stay alive. Dr. Alex Turner emerged from the station's converted laboratory, carrying a datapad filled with technical specifications. Alex had changed the most of all of them. The gentle scientist who had been excited to discover alien life was gone. In his place was a man who spent his days figuring out how to kill aliens more efficiently. "I've finished analyzing the Zephyrian ship we captured," Alex said. "Their technology is more advanced than ours, but it's not magic. We can learn to use it. We can improve it." The captured ship was their greatest prize, a damaged Zephyrian scout vessel that had been left behind during the attack on Earth. Jake's crew had found it drifting near Jupiter and managed to bring it online. It was their window into alien technology and their ticket to moving undetected. Through Zephyrian space, Maya Rodriguez looked up from her engineering station. She had been working for months to understand how Zephyrian ships functioned. The woman who had once maintained Earth's finest exploration vessel now spent her time learning how to build weapons of war. "Their cloaking technology is fascinating," Maya said. "It bends light around the ship, making it invisible to most sensors. But I think I can do better. I think I can make it work against their own detection systems." Jake felt a cold smile cross his face. The Zephyrians had taught humanity that the galaxy was a place of predators and prey. They had assumed humans would be prey. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "What about the other survivors?" Jake asked. "Are they ready?" Lisa checked her communications log. Over the past year, she had been coordinating with human survivors across the galaxy. Miners who had learned to turn asteroid cutting tools into weapons, scientists who had discovered how to poison Zephyrian life support systems, engineers who could make a fusion reactor into a bomb. Commander Stone's group hit another supply convoy last week, Lisa reported. "They're getting better at attacks. The Zephyrians still think they're dealing with pirates, not organized resistance." Commander Janet Stone had been leading a geological survey team when Earth fell. Now she commanded a small fleet of converted mining ships that struck at Zephyrian supply lines and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. "What about Dr. Phillips?" Jake asked. "His bioweapons research is making progress," Alex said quietly. "He's found ways to target Zephyrian physiology specifically. But Jake, what he's developing, it's genocide in a bottle." Jake's expression didn't change. Dr. Rick Phillips had been studying alien bacteria when Earth was destroyed. Now he was creating plagues that would kill only Zephyrians. The man who had once wanted to save lives now worked to end them on a massive scale. "Good," Jake said simply. The others looked at him with a mixture of concern and understanding. The Jake Morrison, who had led peaceful exploration missions, was dead, killed along with Earth. What remained was something harder, colder, and infinitely more dangerous. "Captain," Lisa said softly, "sometimes I wonder if we're becoming like them." "Jake?" turned to look at her, his eyes like chips of ice. No, Lisa. We're becoming worse than them. They conquer worlds because they want to build an empire. We're going to destroy them because they killed our families. Over the following months, the scattered human survivors began to come together. Small groups at first, meeting in secret to share information and resources. They learned to use captured Zephyrian technology to move unseen through their space, to strike without warning and vanish before counterattacks could be organized. The Zephyrians noticed the attacks, but they didn't understand what they were. Facing mysterious explosions destroyed their supply depots. Their ships began disappearing in deep space. Colonies reported strange illnesses that only affected Zephyrians, but it all seemed random, unconnected. Jake's crew had become the center of the growing resistance. From Research Station Omega, they coordinated attacks across half the galaxy. Every human survivor knew their names, and every success brought more volunteers to their cause. We have 47 ships now, Maya reported during one of their planning meetings. Most of them converted civilian vessels, but they're armed and dangerous. What about the intelligence network? Jake asked. Lisa pulled up a star chart showing Zephyrian space. Red dots marked human agents and sympathizers throughout their empire. We have contacts in 37 systems. Some are human survivors, working undercover. Others are alien species that have been conquered by the Zephyrians and want revenge. That was perhaps their greatest weapon. The Zephyrians had made many enemies during their expansion. Species that had been enslaved or destroyed were eager to help anyone who could hurt their oppressors. The humans had become a rallying point for everyone who hated Zephyrian rule. The Korath have agreed to provide us with ships, Alex reported. In exchange, we've given them the bioweapons targeting Zephyrian physiology. Jake nodded. The Korath were a warrior species that had been conquered 50 years ago. They had been forced to serve as soldiers in the Zephyrian military, fighting against other species for their oppressors. Now they were secretly building a resistance fleet. What about the Eldrani? Jake asked. Still negotiating, Lisa said. They're afraid of Zephyrian retaliation. But they're starting to realize that the humans aren't going away. The Eldrani were a peaceful trading species, much like humans had been before the betrayal. They were beginning to understand that the Zephyrians would eventually come for them too, and that their only hope was to support the human resistance. 2 years after Earth's fall, Jake stood on the bridge of his new flagship, a captured Zephyrian heavy cruiser that Maya had modified with human improvements. The ship was called the Revenge, and it carried the most dangerous crew in the galaxy. Captain, Lisa said from her communications station, we're receiving reports from across space. Our coordinated attacks were successful. Jake smiled coldly as the reports came in. 17 military bases destroyed simultaneously, 3 major shipyards crippled by sabotage, the Zephyrian High Command headquarters poisoned by a bioweapon that Dr. Phillips had designed specifically for their species. Casualties? Jake asked. High Coordinator, Veltar is confirmed dead, Alex reported with satisfaction. The poison we introduced into his private water supply was completely effective. Jake felt a moment of pure satisfaction. Veltar, the alien who had betrayed Earth's peaceful delegation, was dead. It wouldn't bring back Ambassador Cross or the billions who had died when Earth burned, but it was a start. Sir, said Lieutenant Ben Carter, who had survived the destruction of Earth's fleet and joined Jake's crew. We're getting a priority transmission from all our resistance cells. Put it through, Jake ordered. The voice that came through the speakers belonged to Commander Stone. She was broadcasting from her mobile command center, somewhere in the Outer Rim. All human units, this is Commander Stone. The Zephyrians are mobilizing their entire fleet. They're finally taking us seriously. It looks like they're planning a massive operation to hunt down all resistance cells. Jake nodded. They had known this day would come. The Zephyrians couldn't ignore the attacks anymore. Too many of their ships were disappearing. Too many of their colonies were suffering mysterious plagues. Too many of their leaders were dying in their sleep. All units prepare for Operation Revelation, Jake broadcast to every human cell in the galaxy. It's time to show the galaxy who we really are. Operation Revelation was the plan they had been building toward for 2 years. Not just another series of hit-and-run attacks, but a coordinated assault that would reveal the true scope of human resistance to the entire galaxy. Maya, are the modifications ready? Jake asked. All 47 ships are equipped with the new broadcasting systems, Maya confirmed. When we attack, every civilization in the galaxy will see it. Jake looked out at the stars, thinking of the dead world that had once been his home. Earth was gone, but its children were still fighting, and they were about to show the galaxy that humans were no longer the peaceful explorers who had been betrayed at Zephyr Prime. They had become something new, something that the Zephyrians would learn to fear. Signal all units, Jake ordered. Begin the operation. Let's remind the galaxy what happens when you betray humanity. The last transmission from Earth had been a promise. Now it was time to keep it. 5 years after Earth's destruction, the galaxy had learned to fear a new name, the human resistance. What had started as scattered survivors seeking revenge had grown into something that made even the mighty Zephyrian Empire tremble. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Revenge, looking out at the fleet he had built from nothing. 57 ships surrounded his flagship, each one crewed by humans who had lost everything and gained something far more dangerous in return. They were no longer the peaceful explorers who had first reached for the stars. They were predators. Captain, we're approaching the target system, reported Lieutenant Ben Carter from the navigation station. Ben had survived the destruction of Earth's fleet and sworn an oath of vengeance that burned in his eyes every day. Jake nodded as he studied the tactical display. The Zephyrian colony of Velinara was ahead of them, a rich world with 3 million alien civilians and a strong military garrison. It would be their most ambitious attack yet. Maya, status on the cloaking systems, Jake asked. All ships are invisible to their sensors, Engineer Maya Rodriguez replied. Maya had spent 5 years studying Zephyrian technology and improving it beyond what its creators thought possible. Her modifications made human ships ghosts that could strike without warning. Dr. Alex Turner looked up from his science station, where he monitored the weapons that had once been instruments of healing and research. Alex had learned to turn medical knowledge into biological warfare, converting vaccines into plagues and healing devices into instruments of death. The bioweapon deployment systems are ready, Alex reported. Dr. Phillips' latest creation should eliminate all Zephyrian life on the planet within 72 hours, while leaving other species unharmed. Jake felt no satisfaction in the planned genocide. The man who had once wept at the beauty of first contact was gone, replaced by someone who could order the death of millions without emotion. The Zephyrians had taught him that mercy was weakness, and he had learned the lesson well. Lisa, are our broadcasts ready? Jake asked. Communications officer Lisa Park nodded from her station. Lisa had become the voice of human resistance, her messages of defiance spreading across the galaxy, despite all attempts to stop them. Every major civilization will receive our transmissions simultaneously, Lisa confirmed. The truth about Zephyr Prime, the destruction of Earth, and what we've become in response. The attack began, exactly, at the planned time. Human ships appeared throughout the Velinara system, like shadows made real. The Zephyrian defense fleet, caught completely by surprise, lasted less than 20 minutes. Human weapons, improved far beyond their original designs, cut through alien ships like paper. Jake watched the battle with cold satisfaction. Each explosion represented months of planning, years of pain, and the systematic destruction of the species that had betrayed humanity's trust. Planet secured, reported Commander Janet Stone from her assault ship. Janet had been leading geological surveys when Earth died. Now she commanded the ground forces that would ensure no Zephyrian escaped their justice. Begin the broadcast, Jake ordered. Across the galaxy, every major communications network suddenly carried the same transmission. The face of Jake Morrison appeared on screens in 1,000 different civilizations, and his voice spoke in hundreds of languages. People of the galaxy, Jake began, his words reaching from the core worlds to the outer rim territories. For 5 years, you have heard stories about pirates and terrorists attacking the peaceful Zephyrian Empire. Today, you will learn the truth. The broadcast shifted to show recorded footage from the betrayal at Zephyr Prime. Ambassador Helen, cross-offering gifts of friendship. The moment when the Zephyrian trap was revealed. The systematic murder of Earth's diplomatic mission. This is how the Zephyrians respond to peace, Jake's voice continued over the images of destruction. They invited us to celebrate friendship while planning our extinction. The footage changed to show Earth's final moments. The blue world burning under Zephyrian weapons. Orbital cities exploding. Billions of innocent lives ended for the crime of offering friendship to monsters. They destroyed our world because we believed their lies about peace, Jake said, as the images of Earth's death filled screens across the galaxy. They thought they had killed all humans. They were wrong. The transmission showed scenes from 5 years of human resistance, Zephyrian ships disappearing in deep space, military bases destroyed by invisible attackers, high-ranking officials dying from untraceable poisons. We are the survivors of humanity, Jake continued. We are what remains when a peaceful species learns that the galaxy only respects strength. We are what you become when betrayal burns away everything soft and weak. Across the galaxy, civilizations that had lived in fear of Zephyrian expansion suddenly understood that the Empire wasn't invincible. Species that had been conquered watched in amazement as humans did what they had thought impossible. They were winning. The Zephyrians told their people that Earth was destroyed for resisting their peaceful expansion. Jake said, as the broadcast showed more evidence of Zephyrian brutality. They lied. We have found the records of 17 other species that suffered the same fate. Civilizations that offered friendship and received genocide in return. The evidence was overwhelming. Planet after planet that had welcomed Zephyrian contact, only to be enslaved or destroyed. The Empire built on betrayal and murder, hidden behind lies about peaceful exploration. Today, the lies end, Jake announced as the transmission showed the human fleet surrounding Velanara. Today, the galaxy sees what humans have become. The bioweapon deployment began. Invisible spores designed specifically to target Zephyrian biology spread through the planet's atmosphere. Within hours, every Zephyrian on Velanara would be dead. Other species would be completely unharmed. We are no longer the peaceful explorers who reached out their hands in friendship, Jake said, as alien cities began to fall silent below. We are the predators that betrayal created. We are the nightmare that happens when you mistake kindness for weakness. The broadcast spread across the galaxy faster than any government could stop it. Species that had been neutral in galactic politics suddenly saw the Zephyrian Empire for what it really was. Conquered peoples began to rise in rebellion, inspired by human resistance. On Zephyr Prime, the surviving Zephyrian leadership watched their carefully constructed lies crumble. High Coordinator Nelvas, who had replaced the murdered Veltar, stared at reports of uprising across their empire. How many systems are in rebellion? Nelvas asked his military commander. 37 and growing, came the reply. The humans have given everyone proof of our expansion methods. Our subject species are declaring independence. Our neighbors are forming defensive alliances. Nelvas felt fear for the first time in his life. The Zephyrians had ruled through deception and overwhelming force. But the humans had exposed their deception, and their force wasn't overwhelming anymore. Where is the human fleet now? Nelvus demanded. Unknown, High Coordinator. They attack without warning and disappear before we can respond. Our ships are afraid to patrol alone, but large fleets are too slow to catch them. Jake stood on the bridge of the Revenge as his fleet moved toward their next target. The broadcast had achieved everything they had hoped. Half the galaxy was in rebellion against Zephyrian rule, and the other half was preparing for war. Captain, Lisa reported from her communications station. We're receiving messages from resistance groups in over 200 systems. Everyone wants to join the fight against the Zephyrians. What about enemy fleet movements? Jake asked. They're pulling back to defend their core worlds, Alex reported from his tactical station. They're abandoning their outer colonies to concentrate their forces. Jake smiled coldly. Fear was making the Zephyrians predictable. They were retreating to their strongholds, giving up the space that human forces could use to grow stronger. Signal the fleet, Jake ordered. Set course for the Altair system. It's time to complete the circle. Altair was where it had all begun, where the peaceful research vessel Horizon had first detected signs of alien intelligence, where humanity had made the mistake of believing in friendship among the stars. Now they were returning, but not as explorers seeking peace. They were coming as conquerors seeking justice. Captain, Maya said from her engineering station, are you sure about this? Altair is heavily defended. The Zephyrians have moved 3 fleet groups there. Jake looked out at the stars that had once filled him with wonder. Now they were just targets in a war that would end only when one species was extinct. They wanted to show the galaxy what happens to species that resist them, Jake said quietly. It's time to show them what happens to species that betray humanity. The human fleet jumped to hyperspace, carrying death to the system where innocence had died. Behind them, the galaxy burned with rebellion and hope. The peaceful Zephyrian Empire was crumbling, brought down by the survivors of the species they had tried to destroy in the depths of space. The last transmission from Earth was finally being answered, not with words of peace and friendship, but with fire and fury, and the promise that betrayal would never go unpunished. The war had begun, and humanity intended to finish it.